Alrighty, guys. Well, I suppose it's not entirely true to say that there aren't any MCU shows coming out between Ironheart, which is happening right now. We're going to talk about it more later on in this podcast episode. My full thoughts on the entire season and the December show, 2025 December show of Wonder Man. I suppose it's not entirely true that there isn't anything else MCU related coming out between now and then because, aside from Fantastic Four First Steps, we also have some animated shows. And to be quite honest with you, if you've been following me on the Access Blockbusters YouTube channel, you know that I haven't been the biggest fan of the animated shows. Now, granted, there have been some wins here and there. I think some individual episodes of What If, especially season 1, were pretty good. The Doctor Strange episode stands out in particular, but also the Hank Pym episode. There are some good things about that first season of What If, I maintain. And, I was quite surprised. I wasn't even going to do weekly episodes of Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, but I decided to give it a whirl just because I thought, well, it's a little bit slower in January, and that's when the show came out. I kind of thought, let's just give it a try. And I ended up reviewing the entire season because I thought that was really good. Really quite good. So Marvel Animation has had some wins here and there. But X-Men 97, I didn't love, but I enjoyed for what it was. But let's be honest, right? And just this is just me personally speaking. Marvel Animation, most of What If has just been not great at all, in my opinion. And Marvel Zombies, it just doesn't look super great. So I'm a little skeptical. But to me, what the promise of these shows are, these animated shows are, is to execute on concepts that are just too hard to do in live action. Because honestly, what I respect about the idea of doing a What If is that you just cannot pull that off feasibly in live action. And even doing it in animation, but getting all these voice actors or all these live action actors to come back and voice their characters is remarkable. I think that actually is a lot of money that they're probably spending on that. But, it's one of those concepts where you just can't do that show in live action. And I'm not saying that every single animated show has to be an anthology, right? Not related to the sacred timeline. I'm not saying that's the criteria for it. X-Men 97 is an example of that for sure. What If is an example of that. But I really like what we're going to talk about here is the concept of what they're doing with the Eyes of Wakanda, where you're taking a concept of what I'm presuming, nobody's confirmed this to me, but it seems the case, that this show is going to be canonical to the Sacred Timeline. It's going to be going through the history of Wakanda. What these animated shows, I believe the potential of these animated shows truly lies in, is exploring different pockets of the MCU that, again, you might not be able to justify fully doing it in live action. Although, Eyes of Wakanda could have been a live action show, perhaps. But I like that it's, if you're going to just do short little anthology episodes, I think that animation is a great medium to do it, especially probably with how expensive it is to film things in the Wakandan sets and whatnot. So I'm all for this kind of idea of taking these episodes or taking these shows and really putting them in different corners of the MCU that you don't get to see otherwise. It's just not as reasonable. So all that to set up the fact that we're here to talk about this tiny little sneak peek for Eyes of Wakanda, which, yeah, in itself is not anything in particular. We get some shots here. I do like the animated style. I think it's a little bit different than the flatter, more 2D animation style that they've been going for thus far. I like it. I think it's good. And I think that, what this proves to me is everything that we've just been talking about the idea that we are taking some time here. Probably, I think it's 4 episodes. They're probably going to be 20 to 30 minutes long, so that's fine. It's not going to be that long. But really taking some time to just dive into the history of Wakanda and seeing it from different perspectives throughout the ages. And I think that is a super interesting concept. We talked about a while ago the idea that, or the fact that Iron Fist is going to be appearing, and Iron Fist, rather, not Danny Rand, apparently, is going to be appearing in Eyes of Wakanda. So let's just explore what this show can tell us about Wakanda. It's like one of those things where I think because of the way that Marvel had been approaching television, you have to watch the show to understand this movie. And people can say, and I've argued that perhaps you don't need to watch every single show to understand what's going on in the movies. But if you didn't watch Miss Marvel, you probably were very confused with a movie like The Marvels. If you didn't watch WandaVision, which, seemed like a lot of people did, but some people didn't, and they were very confused with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. I think that the idea of not even live action shows, but just MCU shows in general, being like, let's just fill out this universe, let's paint it in a different way. And if we're going to focus on the Defenders, like the Daredevils of the world, then let's kind of just paint this as a different corner of the MCU. They don't all have to make it into the movies. They don't all have to be leading characters in the movies, and see where we go from there. I think this is a really fun idea. The little sneak peek, again, what I like about this is that, what the narration is saying is that narrator is saying that you don't know all the secrets about Wakanda. And I think that that's super fun. Each episode kind of explores a different hidden side of what Wakanda is. From the trailer, I think the animation looks cool. I always love going back to Wakanda. It's one of my favorite settings in the MCU, favorite just any things that they've done in the MCU, and I think that that's exciting to be able to see that. So, look, this isn't going to make my list of top 5 most anticipated pieces of media that I want to see in 2025. It just simply isn't, based on what the nature of it is, just being an anthology animated series. But I am excited about this. I think actually quite a bit more than I originally thought I would be. So the sneak peek is out. I don't know if we're going to get a full-length trailer for this, honestly, but we'll see how this goes. It's also another thing that Ryan Coogler is executive producing, which makes sense, and it, seems like he's got his projects lined up, Ironheart and Eyes of Wakanda, for summer of 2025. So did you guys have a chance to check out the sneak peek for Eyes of Wakanda, and did you enjoy it? Are you excited about this little anthology show series? Let me know in the comments down below.